Architectural Builder Supply is pleased to present you with this recording of the technical question that is listed in the title of this video.
This call may be monitored and recorded for quality assurance.
Boy, they're not easy to put in, especially in hardwood, but nevertheless, I think they're inserted beautifully. Now to put the actual door in place, am I correct in saying that the top one both halves are screwed in? You put the pivot up into the hole, but on the bottom, you have to slide the door in to the hinge and then screw it in from underneath?
That's exactly how that goes. And you stated it very perfectly. Those are tough to figure out how they go in. Turns out there's only one way they'll go in, and you just described it.
Wow. So now, if, say, the door is 14.5 inches wide, can you put that upper pivot in and still have enough swing, I see. You could kind of slide, as you slide in the bottom, the top pivot will, see, it's got to be engaged. Otherwise, the dimension is too big. So if you put the pivot in first, can you still, will it be at an angle so that you can still slide in the lower one? Do you kind of get what I'm saying?
Yeah, let me walk over to my desk. Stand by one moment.
You know, Richard, if this door happened to go down to the floor, you couldn't get underneath that to screw that hinge in. You'd have to do it the opposite way. You'd probably have to put the bottom in and slide in on the top. There's got to be another way, but
So the way that these are installed is you would attach everything, say, to the door, and then you would bring the door into the opening and place your header and your sill leaf in place, and then you would simply drill and attach. Is how that would go.
Drill and attach to what? You mean into the carcass, into the cabinet beside of it?
Well, yeah, the top and bottom of the cabinet.
See, what I did, which shouldn't make any difference, but what if the door went all the way down to the floor? You couldn't do it. You couldn't get in there to screw it in.
Well, in those instances, what happens is that you would mortise the face of the stop so that you could attach your hardware, tip the unit into the opening, open the door to 90 degree, and then secure it through the screws. Secure it to your header and then to your floor. Because these pins aren't removable.
I know they're not. The pins aren't removable. No, the pins are on one half of the hinge, and it's permanent. And then you have that little washer, that little spacer, and then they're beautiful. But, you know, and the way I've done this is because the cabinet there's an opening that I'm building it into. So I've taken two separate pieces of oak, and I'm going to screw those up into and down into this opening that I've made the doors. I mean, I have spent so much time with this. It's perfect. I mean, the measurements, I have them dead nuts perfect. I've allotted a 1/16 of an inch on the left, in the middle, and on the right, so that the door can open and clear that. I've set the hinges in a 1/16 of an inch from the top and bottom piece. And I think I watched your demonstration, a separate demonstration, not of the hinge, of how to put them in, and it looked like you slid the door into the hinge and then opened the door.
You could do that. Sure.
Yeah, so but what if the door, I mean, in my case, it doesn't do that, but what if the door went all the way to the floor? You'd be screwed. I mean, you couldn't get underneath there to screw up into the hinge, up into the door.
You apply the hardware prior to bringing it to the opening.
Well, but then you can't slide it in. You can't slide the door in because the hardware is already screwed in.
Sure you can. You've got the hardware attached to the door top and bottom, and what you could also, you could attach in your door scenario, the top pivot could go to the header, and then you mortise the top of the door so that you could literally attach the pivot to the bottom of the door, set it in place, tip it towards the stray top portion. Because you've mortised the back of the door out, you could bring the pivot arm to it. So when you mortise the top of the door, you're going to mortise the back side of the door out. You're going to route that all the way out the back of the door, and you'll only breach.
I did.
Okay.
I did.
Yeah. So I hate to refer to another manufacturer's installation instructions, but Stanley makes this material. Well, they don't make this material. They make wardrobe pivots, and their installation instructions show elegantly how to do it, where you've got to mortise through the back side of that door at the top. Otherwise, like you're saying, you'll never get the thing installed.
Well, fortunately, that is the case. I've mortised them in. I have the pivot portion extending out, and it's extending out so that it is free to rotate. What I did before I even went to that is I mocked it up and I made one separately to make sure that. But then I'm thinking, now I'm almost ready to where we can install this thing, and in other words, if I were to put it on the bottom, the pivot right in, wouldn't it then be already at a angle where I couldn't slide it in? In other words, maybe you got to slide. You can't slide both of them because then the dimension, even maybe not. Maybe I can slide the whole thing. I think you got to screw almost both halves of this, both of upper and lower, because otherwise the door is 14 inches wide. You can't tip it to get the pin in, and at the same time, you're already in. You can't slide in the top part or the bottom to screw it in, unless I'm being very confusing. But
no, you said it right. You can't. You have to attach. You can put your upper and lower portion in, but your other part, both of your pivots are going to still, if you screw in the top pivot to the header, you have to leave the door portion attached. You have to mortise the top of the door such that you can tip the door to it, meaning you've mortised the back side of the door out for it to receive the pivot hardware.
Which I've done, and the only space that is allowed is the spacer, which is like a scant 16-inch, which would then make it so that the door doesn't rub the upper part of your cabinet. I know what you're saying, and I think what I'm going to have to do is just mock it up before I insert this whole thing and just see if I can slide it in and do it that way. And so because whatever, I mean.
Are you at a computer?
Yeah.
Okay. Could you go to our website, absupply.net? And I would like for you to look at something that may tip us in the right direction.
Okay, I got an application up here. I don't want to lose it. I'm going to minimize that, and I'm going to go to what is it, ABS or, wait a minute. What's your website you want me to go to, ABS?
absupply.net.
AB Supply. Okay. And I'm getting a bunch of choices here. Architectural Builder Supply or
absupply.net. You want to type that in the actual top of your browser, absupply.net. It'll take you right to our site.
That's what I did. Okay.
Now, in the search box, top center, please enter the number 327 and hit enter, and let me know when the page loads.
I got a bunch like air louvers.
Okay. Now, click on page 25 and let me know when the next page loads.
Did.
Scroll down to where you see Stanley. And you see images of pivots, and click any of those, and then let me know when the next page loads.
It did.
On the right-hand side, scroll down, you'll see a map of the United States, and then below that, click the link called Instructions.
Got it.
And in step 3 is kind of what that door will need to look like.
The only difference with that doesn't seem to go up to the edge of the door, but nevertheless, other than that.
Sure. Yes, sir. That's right. The actual positioning is different, but depending on what your pivot backset is.
Well, mine definitely go to the back of the door.
Uh-huh.
And out right out to the side. And I'm putting the pivot portion in my cabinet a 1/16 of an inch in from that dimension, so that the door has a 1/16 of an inch clearance between the vertical part of the cabinet.
Okay, your margin, sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then what I might do, well, that's neither here nor there. Okay. So do I scroll down and see?
There's nothing else there to really look at. That was just showing you that what that door prep looks like, with that large L-shaped notch. Well, yours may not be L-shaped, but
yeah. Well, the Deltana is different because this one here, the pivot portion is not parallel to it. It's like almost perpendicular to it. And I can see exactly how that one would work, where you'd slide it in and it would go right on top of that pivot. But the Deltana is more of both halves are perfectly horizontal and parallel to each other.
So in your instance, I would attach the pivot to the top, and then I would attach it to the bottom. And my door has been mortised, so I would rotate those pivots to 90 degree, and I would bring my door to those pivot, your door portion, top and bottom, and then I would attach my door to it and screw it in. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, you need another set of hands with this. Yeah.
Oh, it's a two-man job. That's to be sure. Yes,
yeah.
Sure.
But once they're in there, boy, they're in there, and as long as your measurements are dead nuts on, you're perfect. That's quite a hinge, that Deltana. I mean, it's a little overkill for the amount of weight that I'm putting on it, but boy, they are nice. They are beautifully made.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think I was thinking that I could have one half of it already totally assembled, and I could slide it in on the other half and screw it up into the bottom of the door.
There are different pivots.
Maybe not.
Well, no, you're right. You can do that, but there are different designs of pivots are the problem, where they're not L-shaped. So in those instances, you can literally do what you said, attach it all and slide the whole unit in the opening and attach it up and top and bottom. But when you have an L shape, you have to cut out the back of the door. And Deltana is, just the tip of the iceberg. There are boutique or custom manufacturers who really specialize in an outrageous variety of these little guys. And one that you might want to check out is called I say Rajack. It's RAJACK. These guys have been making pivots since who knows when, since Eisenhower was president. And you'll see so many varieties of these items that you might say, oh, great, it's good to know these exist because you may have a different application, or what you want to do will be better served by a different pivot type.
Maybe I can take some pictures of what I've done, but maybe you could even use them, because what I'm doing here is because of all the time I've had with being home like this, is really dead nuts perfect, and you might be able to even use these in the future for other applications or customers.
Very much like to see them. In fact, I'll send you an email and I'll ask that you reply to it.
Okay.
All right, sir. Well, thank you very much. I'll send you that email, and we'll carry on.
Thank you for all your help. You've been very nice, and I will follow through with that.
I'm glad you called. Bye-bye now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Architectural Builder Supply is pleased to present you with this recording of the technical question that is listed in the title of this video. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.